This video lecture will discuss about one of the very important compounds of hydrogen and these compounds of hydrogen that we are going to discuss is the hydrides. So topic of discussion for this lecture will be hydrides. So before starting with the details of this hydride, let's define what actually the hydride. So hydrides are the binary compounds of hydrogen with some other elements. So this combination of hydrogen with some other elements forms a binary compound, and those binary compounds are classified as hydrides. So from definition point of view, these are binary compounds of hydrogen with other elements. These binary compounds of hydrogen with other elements, which is classified as hydrides, this is of three different types of hydrides. We have three different types. First one is known as salt-like hydride, or also known as ionic hydrides. Second category of hydride, this is known as covalent hydrides. Covalent hydrides. The third category of hydrides, that is a binary compounds of hydrogen, is metallic, or this is also known as interstitial hydrides, or which is known as non-stoichiometric hydrides. So these are three categories of hydride that we are going to discuss. So let's take up the first category, that is salt-like or ionic hydride. So starting with this salt-like or ionic hydrides. Now look at this, as the name suggests, salt-like or ionic hydrides, these are the compounds in which the hydrogen is bonded to the other element through an ionic bond. That means, as the name suggests, these are known as ionic hydrides. So these compounds are ionic compound. The salt-like or ionic hydrides are ionic compounds. So as we have these ionic compounds, the anion present in this hydride, that is H minus, containing H minus, and this H minus is what we call as hydride ion. So these compounds contains H minus. So now we are having H minus, that means these compounds, that is the ionic hydride, should be formed by highly electropositive elements of alkali and alkaline earth metals. So these alkali and alkaline earth metal, being very electropositive, they have a tendency to lose electron, and that electron lost by this metal will be gained by hydrogen when this is converted into hydride ion, and these hydride ion, that is H minus, and the cation coming from alkali and alkaline earth metal, when they are placed side by side, a very strong electrostatic force of attraction occurs, and because of this, these hydrides are known as ionic hydrides. So ionic hydrides contains H minus, that is hydride ion. Now these ionic hydrides, these are formed by alkali and alkaline earth metal, alkali and alkaline earth metals. So that means we have this example. So alkaline earth metal means we have group 1 and group 2 elements. So let's say these group 1 elements, group 1, that is alkali metals. So we have looked at this lithium hydride, we have sodium hydride, we have potassium hydride, rubidium hydride, and cesium hydride. Now in all these hydride, the metal is in +1 oxidation state, hydrogen -1. So we have this hydrides. Now moving from lithium to cesium, the size of said element, that is metal, increases where the size of hydride ion remains constant. Now as the size of metal increases from lithium to cesium, the size difference between the metal and the hydride ion increases. As the size difference increases, stability of these hydrides decreases. So the most stable hydride among all these is lithium hydride is the most stable, cesium hydride is the least stable. So this is the stability of these hydrides. Whereas alkaline earth metal, that is group 2 metals, alkaline earth metals, these metals also combines with hydride ion to give you metallic hydrides, that is ionic hydride. So we have looked at this calcium hydride, we have magnesium hydride, strontium hydride, barium hydride. So in all these, metal is in +2 oxidation state, and we have H-. Now moving from magnesium to barium, again the size of metal increases. Because of this increase in size, the size difference between the combining atom increases. As the size difference increases, again the stability of this hydrides also decreases. So these hydrides, which is specifically formed by this group 1 and group 2 metal, which is highly electropositive metals, these are known as salt-like or ionic hydrides. Why this is salt-like? Because these compounds, being ionic, exist as a crystalline salt in which the cation and anions are arranged regularly in a crystalline structure. Because of this, these are known as salt-like. Ionic because the ionic the bond between this metal and hydride ion is ionic bond. So we have this. So these ionic hydrides are formed by group 1 and group 2 elements. Now coming to the properties of this ionic hydrides. Properties of these ionic hydrides. First, now these are crystalline solids. These ionic hydrides are crystalline solids. If you are having crystalline solid, that means these hydrides have high melting and boiling point, high melting point and the boiling point. So this being crystalline solid, in which we have a very strong electrostatic force of attraction between the cation and anion. Now to break this strong electrostatic attractive force, a large amount of energy must be supplied. Hence the melting point of these ionic hydrides are high. If the melting point is high, obviously the boiling point will also be high. So this is second property. The third property of this ionic hydride is these ionic hydrides are non-conductor in the solid state. Non-conductor in solid state, because in solid state there is no free cation and free anion, and these cation and anions are held by a very strong force, so there is no free ions. So hence this ionic hydrides in the solid state is non-conductor. No free ion is present, whereas this ionic hydride shows conductivity in melt state. In molten state, it shows conductivity. So in molten state means when this ionic hydride is heated at its melting point, these decompose to give you cation and anion. So since we have free cation and anion in the molten state, this shows conductivity. This is due to presence of free ion. Presence of free and molten state. Suppose we have looked at this, take this lithium hydride. Now this lithium hydride is heated at its melting point. When this is converted into lithium ion plus hydride ion, so at this molten state we have free cation and free anion, and this free cation and free anion will carry current. So in the solid state conductivity is 0, but whereas in the molten state it shows conductivity. Now this is due to the presence of free ion. Then the another property of this ionic hydride is the densities of this ionic hydride is greater than the densities of the metal ion. Densities are higher than the metal. So when we compare the density of metal and the density of this ionic hydride, the densities of these hydrides are always greater than the density of the free metal ion. So these are the physical properties, what we call the physical properties of this ionic hydrides. Now let's go to the ionic chemical properties of this hydrides. Chemical properties. Now we take this electrolysis. Electrolysis of the molten salt. Molten salt. Now we take this alkali metal. So in case of alkali metal we have this. We have this alkali metal hydride. This is crystalline solid. We heat this at its melting point. When this solid is converted into metal ion and hydride ion. Now to this molten state, this is what they call as the molten state. Now in this molten state we have to pass current, so that is we have to carry out electrolysis. Now in electrolysis, that means we are using a particular cell in which we have cathode and anode. Through this cathode and anode we are passing electric current. So when electric current is passed through this solution, redox reaction takes place. So we have anode and we have cathode. So cathode is where reduction reaction takes place, and anode where oxidation reaction takes place. Now look at this. At this anode we have H minus. Now this H minus oxidize to give you molecular hydrogen. So hydrogen gas is released at the anode. Now this formation of hydrogen gas at anode also confirms the presence of H minus in this hydrides. So in this hydride H minus is present, so this also confirms that this is ionic hydride. Plus electron will be released. Now this electron which is released at the anode will be taken up at the cathode for reduction of this metal ion. So this metal ion takes up electron and is reduced as cathode, so we get metal. So the formation of hydrogen gas and metal also confirms that these contains metal ion and hydride ion, which on electrolysis gives you metal at cathode and hydrogen gas at anode. So this is the electrolysis of this molten salt. Second, these hydrides when reacts with water, this gives you hydroxide and hydrogen gas. So reaction with water, that is hydrolysis. Hydrolysis means breaking of the substance in presence of water. So we take this alkali metal hydrides. This hydride reacts with water. Now look at this H minus. H minus we have M plus. So this H minus is a very strong base. We have a base. Now we have water, shows acidic character. Now acid base reacts to give you salt. Now H minus takes up H plus and from water, and this gives you hydrogen gas is released at. Along with this hydrogen gas, we are left with OH minus. That OH minus combines with metal ion to give you metal hydroxide. So now look at this. Hydrolysis of these ionic hydrides produces hydrogen gas and metal hydroxide. So that means the hydrolysis product of this metal hydride, that is ionic hydride, is basic in nature because of the formation of this metal hydroxide. This is alkali metal hydroxide. Now we take the help of alkaline earth metal hydride, that is of this MH2 type, calcium, magnesium, strontium, barium. This also reacts with water. Again the reaction is same, acid base reaction, when this gives you hydrogen gas plus metal hydroxide is formed. So now look at this. So simply saying, all these metal hydrides, that is the ionic hydrides, decompose or reacts with water to give you hydrogen gas and metal hydroxide. So the aqueous solution of this ionic hydrides is always basic due to the formation of this hydroxides in solution. So this is the first property, this is the second property of this hydrides. So now look at this. This is some of the chemical properties of this ionic hydride. Now the next hydride, that is covalent or molecular hydride. We have covalent or molecular hydride. Now as the name suggests, these types of hydride, the bond between hydrogen and the element, that is covalent bond. Bond present here is covalent. In the first category that we have just discussed, that is ionic hydride, in which the bond between the element and the hydrogen, that bond was ionic in nature. Whereas in case of covalent or molecular hydride, the bond present between hydrogen and the other element is covalent in nature. Hence the name covalent or molecular hydride. These covalent or molecular hydride, these hydrides are formed by p block elements, formed by p block elements. So p block elements forms this molecular hydride, whereas S block element, that is alkali and alkaline earth metal, forms ionic hydride. P block element forms this molecular covalent hydride. Now this molecular or covalent hydride is of different types. First category of this covalent hydride is electron deficient hydride. Electron deficient hydride. Now as the name suggests, electron deficient hydride, that means in this covalent compound the central atom contains less than 8 electrons in its valency cell. Since the number of electrons present in the valency cell is less than 8 or less than octet, hence these are known as electron deficient hydrides. So why these are electron deficient? The central atom contains less than 8 electrons, that is octet, in its valency cell. So since this contains less than 8 electrons, so these are known as electron deficient hydride. Now look at this electron deficient hydride. These are formed by group 13 elements. Group 13 elements, that is boron family. Elements of boron family forms this hydrides. So electron deficiency is in terms of less than octet, having less than 8 electrons in the valency shell after formation of chemical bond. Now we have said that these hydrides are formed by group third element, that is elements of boron family. Some of this example. We have, look at this BH3 boron hydride. We have this AlH3. Now in this, boron is forming 3 chemical bonds with hydrogen, so the number of electrons in the valency cell is 6 electrons. So we have 6 electrons in valency cell. Aluminium again forming 3 chemical bonds with this hydrogen, so 3 electron pairs is being shared between aluminum and hydrogen. So again this has got 6 electrons in the valency cell. Electrons in valency cell. So due to the presence of less than 8 electrons in the valency cell, we say these are electron deficient. Now this electron deficient BH3, this being electron deficient, this combines with another molecule of BH3, when this gives you a specific compound which is known as diboron, B2H6. Diboron means 2 BH3 boron BH3 units combines to give you a single molecule, hence this is known as diboron. Now in this BH3, boron forming 3 chemical bond, boron is undergoing sp2 hybridization, so we said this is planar. When this BH3 combines with another BH3 forming B2H6, the hybridization changes to sp3. In this, the boron contains 6 electrons in the valency cell, whereas in this, boron contains 8 electrons in the valency cell. 8 electrons in valency cell. In B2H6, hybridization changes to sp3 tetrahedral. In this, we have 6 electrons in the valency cell. So before this combination, boron was having sp2 hybridized 6 electrons. After formation of diboron, hybridization changes to sp3 tetrahedral, and the number of electrons in the valency cell of this boron is 8 electrons. So this is what we call as electron deficient hydride. Then the second category is electron precise. Electron precise hydride. That means the valency cell of the central atom contains 8 electrons, that is the octet is complete, and along with this no lone pair electron is present. That is what they call as electron precise. So this means central atom contains 8 electrons in valency cell, that means octet is complete. Octet is complete. Now though octet is complete, but this electron precise hydride does not contain any lone pair of electron on the central atom, but it does not contain any lone pair electrons So electron precise hydride contains 8 electrons in the valency cell of the central atom. Though we have 8 electrons, so there is no chances for lone pair. So this contains all the electrons in the form of bonded pair. That means the central atom will form 4 chemical bonds. Because of the formation of 4 chemical bonds, the number of electrons present in the valency cell will be 8. So these are known as electron precise covalent hydride. Now these electron precise covalent hydrides, these are formed by group 14 elements, formed by group 14 elements. These elements, that is carbon family, elements of carbon family, that is group 14. So these group 14 elements containing 4 electrons in the valency cell combines with 4 hydrogen, forming 4 chemical bond to give you electron precise hydrides. So these carbon family elements contains 4 electrons in valency cell. So these combines with 4 hydrogen atom to give you electron precise bond. So now look at this. We have CH4, that is electron precise. We have 4 carbon is sp3 hybridization. We have look at this SiH4 silane. Again silicon is forming 4 chemical bond. Then we have German. We have look at this stannine. So in all these look at this, these group 14 elements forms 4 sigma bond with the hydrogen by sharing of 4 pairs of electrons. By doing this, the central atom completes its octet, and this is what they call as electron precise covalent hydride. Then the third category of molecular or covalent hydride is electron excess. Electron excess hydrides. Now the excess doesn't mean that we have more than 8 electrons in the valence shell. Now these electron excess hydrides also contains 8 electrons in the valence shell, but some of the electrons are unused electrons in the form of lone pair. So these electron excess hydrides contains 8 electrons in valence shell, means along this also contain lone pair electrons containing some lone pair electrons. So now if you look at this, the difference between this electron precise octet is complete, in which the central atom is forming 4 chemical bonds, no lone pair electron is present. Whereas in case of electron excess hydride, again we are having octet is complete and electrons in the valence shell, but some of these are in the form of lone pair. So because of the presence of lone pair, these are known as electron excess hydrides. Now these electron excess hydrides are formed by group 15, 16 and 17 elements. So these forms electron excess hydrides. Now let's take up example of these hydrides. First let's take up this group 15. Group 15, that is nitrogen family. Now this nitrogen family group 15 contains 5 electrons in valence shell. So these combines with 3 hydrogen to give you compound. So we get this NH3, nitrogen, hydrogen. We have 3 pairs of electron is sharing between nitrogen and hydrogen, plus we have a lone pair of electron on this nitrogen. So the hydrides formed by group 15 elements contains 1 lone pair electron. We have look at the PX3 phosphine. We have pair of electron. Then we have arsine. Again we have a lone pair electron. We have stibine. Again we have a lone pair of electrons. So these hydrides of group 15 contains 1 lone pair electron. Now moving to group 16, hydrides of group 16. We have 6 electrons in the valence shell of the central atom. So we have H2O, oxygen is having 2 lone pairs of electrons. So we have 8 electrons. Out of these 4 are in bond form, bonded. The remaining 4 are in unused electrons. We have hydrogen sulfide, sulfur having 2 lone pair of electron. Then we have selenite, hydrides of selenium, we have 2 lone pairs of electron. H2Te, again tellurium, this contains 2 lone pairs of electrons. So these hydrides of group 16, this contains 2 lone pair of electrons. Then we have hydrides formed by group 17, that is halogens. This is oxygen family. Group 16, halogen family. The central atom contains 7 electrons in the valency shell. 7 electrons in valency shell. Now look at this. This forms hydride HF. Fluorine contains 3 lone pairs of electron. We have HCl, fluorine containing 3 lone pairs of electron. HBr, again bromine having 3 lone pairs of electron, and HI, iodine having 3 lone pairs of electrons. So in this hydrides of group 17 we have 3 lone pair of electrons. So look at this. The valency is having 8 electrons. The octet is complete. In this, some of them electrons are unused electron in the form of lone pair, some of them are in bonded pair. So we have group 15, 16 and 17. This contains lone pair electron and these are known as electron excess hydride. Group 15 contains 1 lone pair, group 16 contains 2 lone pair, group 17 contains 3 lone pairs of electrons. Then the third category of hydride, that is metallic or interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides. This is the third category of hydride. Now this metallic, interstitial or non-stoichiometric. Now why we call this metallic? The reason being, these hydrides shows the properties similar to that of metals. As the properties of metal is hydride is similar to the properties of metal, these are known as metallic hydrides. Interstitial, because these hydrides in the metal crystalline structure of metal, some unoccupied space is present. In this unoccupied space, and hydrogen gets absorbed. Due to the absorption of hydrogen in the unoccupied space of these metallic crystals, these are known as interstitial hydride. These are also known as non-stoichiometric hydride because the formula of this hydride does not follow the simple laws of chemical combination. That means for combining with this hydrogen and this metal, simple ratio is not followed, hence these are known as non-stoichiometric hydrides. These non-stoichiometric or metallic hydrides, these are formed by d block elements that is group 13. So we have group 3rd, 4th to group 12. These elements of group 3 to 12, which is known as D block, these forms metallic or interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides. But now look at this group 7, 8 and 9. Elements of group 7, 8, 9 does not form any hydride, hence these are known as hydrogen gap. Does not form any hydride, hence these three groups, group 7, 8, 9 are known as hydrogen or hydride gap. Hydride gap. So these elements of group 7, 8, 9, since it doesn't form any hydride, these three groups in the periodic table is known as hydride gap, means which does not form any hydride. The properties of these hydrides, let's see some important properties of this metallic or interstitial hydrides. First property, metallic hydrides or interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydrides, these are very hard, they are hard solids and these have metallic luster, means though these are hard, they have metallic character. character. Hydrides of this D block, which is known as metallic or interstitial, they are hard solid. Though we have hydrogen incorporated in the crystalline structure of metal, these elements shows metallic character, and now since this shows metallic character, they shows conductivity and are electrical conductors, and this conductivity is similar to the conductivity of the metal. Second property of this metallic or interstitial or non-stoichiometric hydride is the density of these hydrides. Density of this hydride is less than that of metal. When we compare the density of these hydrides with the density of metal, the density of this metallic hydride is always less than that of the metal. So the reason being, when hydrogen gas is incorporated in the crystalline structure of this metal, the volume undergoes expansion. Because of this expansion in volume, density is decreased. So when inside the cavity of this metal, crystalline metal, hydrogen gas is being absorbed or incorporated, because of this there is expansion in the volume. Because of this expansion in volume, density is decreased. Now this hydride does not have fixed formula, that is non-stoichiometric. Does not have fixed formula. So that means simple laws of chemical combination. That means whenever atoms combine, they always combine in simple whole number ratio. That laws of combination will not be applicable here, because of the incorporation of this hydrogen, this does not have the fixed stoichiometric ratio. That is, no fixed stoichiometric ratio. So these are few important properties of this metallic interstitial. So I repeat again, they are hard solids, they have metallic character, and since they have metallic character, they shows electrical conductivity. Now since they are hard solid, they will have high melting point. When we compare the density of these hydrides with density of pure metal, their density is less than that of metal. Because of the incorporation of hydrogen, volume undergoes expansion. So these are a very important compounds of hydrogen, which is known as hydrides. So we have these binary compounds of hydrogen, which is known as hydride, and its different types of hydride and their properties.